In this video, we will demonstrate how you can add dependent to the tax file. From the left sidebar here, you can click on the drop-down menu and you can see that there is a principal taxpayer and there is a spouse. And let's say they have a dependent. So you can go to the home menu to the taxpayer at the top and click on here and click on add dependent. Similarly, how you add a spouse, or you can go to the top and click on the taxpayer's name and then you can add dependent. Both things do exactly the same thing. It just becomes a matter of what you're comfortable with and how you like to navigate through the system. If I click on add dependent, it is going to give me a couple of different options for adding that dependent. If I select Show Dependent Worksheet for a dependent, which does not actually create a tax return for a dependent, it just records them and whether or not there are any credits related to that particular dependent. For a child or a baby, I would just use the dependent worksheet and enter their information there, or an older dependent who may be filing their own tax return but is doing it separately from you, you can create this dependent worksheet and record relevant information that way. Or if they are older and they need to file a return, you can select create a new return for this dependent, similar to what we do with the spouse return. The third option you have is you can open an existing return for a dependent that you may have already created, but now you want to bring it in here so we can take advantage of some of those optimization. In this case, I am assuming that their dependents are quite young, so I am going to go with dependent worksheet and then I'm going to click OK. Now we have a dependent worksheet where we can add dependent details. I am going to add name of this dependent and then you want to add a relationship, and let's say this dependent is quite younger, and then you can also add a social insurance number that if you have it you would enter it here. If they have any income, so likely not, but if they do, you need to enter that amount in this section here, and that will be relevant to some of the calculations potentially. If they are eligible dependent, that is something you would select that here. And on down this worksheet, this is where you would set those various things that are relevant to that dependent, whether you want to enter amount for an eligible dependent, tuition or education, and textbook amount transferred from a child. All of that information that is something you would like to enter right in this worksheet. And if you need to create a new return for the dependent, you can come at the top from the sidebar. You can click on that dependent name and then simply click on create a new return for a dependent and hit OK, and it will create a new return for that dependent. And from the top, you can always check that the plus sign has disappeared. That means we have full return for this dependent, and you can add more dependent depending on your client's scenario. If you ever need to detach dependent return, you can always do that by clicking on detach under the home menu and then select the return that you want to detach. Another thing I would mention is optimization worksheet. It is a powerful tool that provides transparency into shared credits and transfers between spouses and dependents. It gives you a clear overview of how credits are distributed, ensuring you have maximized tax benefit for the entire family. So, TaxCycle provides you intuitive tools to enhance your workflow for family tax management.